Good afternoon. Welcome to Committee of the Whole for Tuesday, April 2nd. We'll go ahead and get started with roll call. Kim?
Thank you, Council President. Council President Kaur?
Here.
Councilmember Boyce?
Here.
Councilmember Boyd?
Here.
Councilmember Fincher?
Here.
Councilmember Larimer?
Here.
Councilmember Michaud?
Here.
Councilmember Troutner?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Any changes to the agenda? No changes. Motion to approve, please.
So move. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. And can I get a motion for approval of minutes, please?
So move. Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we'll hand it over to Councilmember Larimer for Economic and Community Development.
Thank you, Council President. So we have a information-only item tonight. It's Wildland-Urban Interface Code with Matt Gilbert.
Hey, good evening, council members. I'm here just for a quick update on, as you said, the Wildland-Urban Interface Code.
Wow, something.
Kind of a mouthful. This is something that the state had added to the regular suite of building codes for the recent update. We didn't get it in the first round. We do the big update of all the codes. This is one that we added on. Well, and we had a hearing on this on the 6th of February. We're getting ready to move it towards action. But in the meantime, the state legislature kind of put the brakes on the whole thing because there was some criticism of the original bill, that the requirement that it was vague. There was some mapping that was required. Just to update you or remind you, this is like a forest fire mitigation code that requires new homes in certain areas that are kind of in forested areas to be more fireproof. But the requirements were very vague, and it was based on mapping that was very low resolution. And so the legislature said, stop the presses, let's reconsider this and give the Department of Natural Resources some more time to do their mapping and to clarify some of the requirements. So I'm just here to tell you that we will not be bringing this forward for action until the folks in Olympia can clarify. And we don't have a timeline for that, but the consensus right now is that it'll be something like a year and a half before they can get that mapping work done. So we may need to have another hearing later when we adopt this, kind of depending on the changes. But I will come back to you and update you then. So that's all I have for you.
Question, Matt. Thank you. So is this didn't impact a lot of areas in our city regardless, right?
It was low impact.
Yeah.
The current mapping would say that out kind of around the Seuss Creek Trail, there may be some affected parcels. But again, the map was criticized as being low resolution, not really specific, and so it was hard to make heads or tails of which parcels would be influenced or would be impacted and which would not. So that's, unfortunately, those criticisms were heard, and the Department of Natural Resources will go back and give it another try.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Councilmember Larimer. And next is Parks, Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you so much, Madam President. We have two items tonight, both good stuff. All right, first up, we have Brian Levenhagen to talk about purchase of some property.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, council members. I'm here today to ask for authorization to execute a purchase and sales agreement for the Chou property. This is one of two parcels at the 2nd and Meeker, a vacant property. The city acquired the first of those two parcels a little time ago when we got authorization from council in January to acquire the patent property. So this is the other half of that vacant lot. It's about 5,100 square feet total. Big thanks to Adam Long and with our legal team who led the negotiations here. The final purchase price of this parcel is $347,000 plus closing costs. And so that I'll answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Brian? Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very exciting. I know a lot of people, especially being part of Kent Downtown Partnership, this is something that we are very excited about. What is the plan moving forward?
So now that we, assuming we'll move forward and close on this parcel, we'll be in a position to start the design process, which will take some time. We are looking into maybe having an interim plan there, though, to just at least do a phase one to kind of start demolition of the concrete that's in place there and see what we can do about greening it up a little bit. But we're still kind of investigating that, but we'll be in a position to follow up on that shortly. But yeah, full design and expansion of Kherson will take some time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And Brian, in the past, I know KDP has used that location for like their Halloween events and stuff. So are we still gonna let them use it if needed, or?
It depends on
Construction.
what the interim kind of plan is there and whether it's safe and all.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because I know that usually I've seen the kids trick-or-treating in that area, so.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing to note that this is going straight to council tonight, just in the interest of time and closing quickly.
Any other questions for Brian? Okay, then I'm going to read the motion. I move to authorize the mayor to take all action and sign all documents to purchase the Chou property for $347,000 plus closing costs on final terms acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney, and ratify all actions consistent with this motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, I just want to say thank you, Brian. This is great. This is going to really help to continue to our investment in downtown and reinvigorate this area, as Councilmember Troutner was saying. All right.
Thank you.
You ready for a vote? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, up next we have Bryan Higgins to talk about the Mill Creek Canyon Trail.
Thanks. It's nice to be here tonight. I did have a presentation. I did. Thank you. So tonight I'm here to talk about the Mill Creek Canyon Trails repair contract with EarthCorps. Just to give everybody a little bit of background and history on this. So after we completed the trash removal inside the canyon, in 2021 we started working with EarthCorps on doing trail maintenance and repairs. As kind of over the years of not being in there, the trail had kind of degraded. So since 2021 we've been kind of working our way up the canyon, and we basically started in 2021 down here at the very bottom of the canyon near Earthworks Park, and then we kind of been working our way up, all the way up. We did a little bit of work here with the switchback to get people into the canyon, and then last year we kind of completed this trail, and now we basically have a trail that connects all the way up to the target property. So essentially today you can almost walk from Mill Creek Canyon Earthworks all the way to the target property on a newly improved, really nice trail. Unfortunately, in November of 2022, after about 5 or 6 inches of rain, we had a very unfortunate slide on the trail, and we lost probably 30 or 40 feet of the trail kind of down into the creek. And so this is kind of what prompted us last year. During 2023, we kind of worked on a plan, worked on some design to come up with a way to repair this trail slide. So the best way to describe where this is kind of, I have it marked here on the map, but as you're driving up Canyon Drive there and you look over to the right where that large open field is, it's kind of, if you go all the way there to the end and then just look down at the bottom of the canyon, that's where it's at. So here's a little photo of the trail slide itself. So this is looking on the kind of the up canyon side, and you can see I'm kind of standing at the edge of where it slid, and then you can kind of see by the tree over here on this side is where the trail is going to need to be reconnected. So what this little break in the canyon means is that right now there's not really a great main canyon trail. You can still get around it, but there isn't like a solid hiking trail. So this contract will allow us to put back this broken section and allow hiking to resume like from the bottom all the way to the top of the canyon. And so the total contract amount is $269,939, and I can certainly answer any questions you guys might have about this project.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Hey, Brian, that's the only spot? Have you guys checked the whole trail? Are there any other?
Yeah, this is the only spot where we have a section that's not passable.
Hey, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, I will read the motion. I move to authorize the mayor to sign a trail repair agreement with EarthCorps, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Parks Director and City Attorney.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, once again, Brian, great job. This will be another great investment for our city, and it'll complete the trail.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Back to you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Michaud. And now Public Works, Councilmember Fincher.
I see Christina Neff is ready to talk to us about consultant services agreement with Herrera Environmental for Boeing Rock Environmental Project.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Christina Neff with Public Works Environmental, and I'm talking about some preliminary work plan for the Boeing Rock project. For this work, we published a request for qualifications, and Herrera Environmental Consultants was selected to complete the feasibility analysis and some other environmental studies. And I was here previously talking about the Salmon Recovery Funding Board and King County Parks Levy grants that were awarded to the project and were accepted in February. And those grants would cover the entire amount for this contract with Herrera. Just to note that the photo here shows the conditions for almost the entire length of the project. There's been some development that's happened on the adjacent site there since that photo was taken. And also, since this map was put together, it's the same, it shows that same open space there, but it's been developed. So the project area is the East Riverbank between South 200th and South 212th. And this area is just north of the Lower Russell Levee project that was just completed and the upcoming Habitat A area project. So once all three of these are together completed, there'll be about 2 miles of nearly contiguous riparian habitat and recreation spaces improved with large habitat structures, off-channel salmon habitat, and then trails and other recreation facilities on the east bank along here. So for this project, it was important that we balance those riparian habitat and the park recreation goals. So we are partnering with the Parks Department to balance those goals for this project. So for Herrera, the scope of work, some administration costs, the feasibility assessment, basis of design, and the development and assessment of alternatives, and some evaluating permitting and technical needs for the preferred alternative, and then stakeholder coordination as we continue this process. And the total amount for the contract will not exceed $216,117. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Well, in that case, I move to authorize the mayor to sign a consultant services agreement with Herrera Environmental Consultants, Inc., subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the city attorney and the directors of Public Works and Parks.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Christina. And then we have Drew Holcomb coming, and Drew is going to talk to us about Highway Safety Improvement Program and the road safety diets.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. Good afternoon, council members. As Brenda Fincher mentioned, I'm here to talk about the City Safety Roads Diets program, which we recently awarded. So we've gone through the advertising process and recently awarded that. This project's going to put 3 different locations on a road diet, and you can see the before and after there. So there's 2 of them are 4-lane roads, and one of them is a 2-lane road that's very wide, and we're going to be adding bike lanes with buffers. And it kind of varies location to location, but it's 3 locations totaling 3.3 miles throughout the city. The locations are 4th Avenue from 228th James Street, Meeker Street, which goes around the corner to Lincoln and then turns into Smith, from Washington Avenue all the way to 4th. And then the final location's on the West Hill from 260th Street to 259th Place. So that's the one road, and it goes from Pack Highway to Military. So I'm here today with good news. We got additional funding on this. So this is 100% 100% match from WashDOT, so we're not paying anything. So the bids came in higher than anticipated, and we worked with WashDOT local programs, and they were able to add additional funding to cover the cost of the project. And then here's a map showing the 3 locations that I just described throughout Kent. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Questions, comments? It's going to make it much safer for our bikers and actually the pedestrians also. Madam Chair, I move to accept additional grant funds from the Washington State Department of Transportation in the amount of $283,605 for the City Safety Road Diets Grant. Amend the budget, authorize expenditures of grant funds, and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the city attorney and public works director.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. Great job to you and your team on getting all the grants. I think that's amazing that, and our taxpayer money comes back to our community and we're building safer streets. I think that your team has done an amazing job. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, Drew.
Thank you.
Safer streets. And last, we have Toby Halleck coming up and Avenue Southeast Multi-Use Path Transportation Improvement Board Grant, another grant.
Yes, more money for safer streets. Hello, I'm Toby Halleck, and Engineer 3 for the Public Works Design Engineering Group. I'm here to request council authorize acceptance of the funds from the Washington State Transportation Improvement Board, or TIB, for the 132nd Avenue Southeast Multi-Use Path Project. This project is included in our 2024 pavement preservation project, which includes rehabilitating and doing overlay work throughout the city. So this is one of many sites that were included in that. And that project is currently advertising for bids. In this picture, you can see the current conditions out on 132nd. It's a 2-lane road for most of it. Some areas have a wide shoulder like this. What this project will do is create a separate path for pedestrians or cyclists that will put a curb between the roadway and the path, so everyone will have a little bit more space to move. In areas where there's a narrower shoulder, we'll widen out the road, and then overall we will be repaving the entire surface of the roadway throughout the project. So this project is on the East Hill between Southeast 240th Street up to Southeast 228th Place. It's about 3/4 of a mile long. I mentioned the majority of the improvements. Some of the other improvements are ADA curb ramps, new pavement markings, and new signs. So long stretch that's in need of some help, and with this grant funding, we'll be able to provide that. So the city has a great working relationship with the Transportation Improvement Board. We applied for this grant in particular because we knew that it would score high, it would check off their boxes that they look for in these projects. The TIB engineer, Greg Armstrong, was very instrumental in helping us get this grant and get it approved quickly. He knew that we were working to get this project out to advertise, and he was able to get approval to add through their system within 2 days of us getting this award. So that's pretty unusual, but I just wanted to, give a shout out for that effort there. So this grant will provide $500,000, up to $500,000 towards the total construction and construction administration. Construction will happen this summer with the rest of our pavement improvement projects. And this project is supported with funding from the Washington's Climate Commitment Act, or CCA. And the CCA supports Washington's climate action efforts by putting cap and invest dollars to work by reducing climate pollution, creating jobs, and improving public health. And it's a good fit for that project, or for those funds as well.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is definitely a strip. As you mentioned, it's a long road. So we've been working, putting sidewalks in, putting where we can't have sidewalks, at least adding fog lines and other paths to increase the safety. So this was another big step, thanks to the Transportation Improvement Board and the hard work of Public Works Department. Any questions, comments? Councilmember Boyce?
Is this on the west side of the road? Or
This will be on the west side of the road.
west
Yes.
side? And then, so in some places you can tell, you can put the big curves all the way down on one side, right?
Yes.
And then how much space are you going to have from the curb to?
It depends on the location. In some areas, there'll be a completely separated path that we will have the curb alongside, but the path will be moved even further to the west. In other areas, I think we have, like this area in particular, we've got 6 to 8 feet. So there'll be a couple feet off of the fog line where the new curb will be, and then we'll have that additional space.
We have to move there's some poles and stuff like that, so you're going to move some of that off to the right? Or?
We are not moving any of the poles. We will be relocating signs. So we're either going to be going around any of the poles. So there's a pole shown in this, in the shade.
Yep. Yeah. I know exactly where they're at, yeah.
Right here is a pole. So
Yep.
we'll be going on the inside of that pole towards the roadway, and other locations will be going on the outside if it's possible.
And when you get down past, I think it's like 230, right past that, they got a house right there on the corner. They're pretty close to that too. So are there any?
We are doing what we can to. We're keeping our work within the right of way. We're
Okay,
not encroaching into any private properties, but some of the work will be going right up to the right of way line.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Larimer?
I had the same questions about the utility poles and right-of-ways, so thank you for answering those.
Anyone else? I move to accept grant funds in the amount of $500,000 from the Transportation Improvement Board for a Complete Streets Award, amend the budget, authorize the expenditure of funds, and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the city attorney and Public Works Director.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, Toby. We will be accepting those funds. That is it for Public Works.
Thank you, Councilmember Fincher. And that comes to the end of our meeting. And I want to say thank you to all of our departments for working hard and getting the grant funding for always, working towards our better cities. So thank you so much. I know we all appreciate it. And we will see you all at 5 o'clock for council workshop. Thank you.
5:15 if I.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Kent City Council Workshop for Tuesday, April 2nd. We have 2 items on our agenda. First up is Riverbend Update with Julie Perez-Condola, our Parks Director. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Good evening, Council President and Council members. Just for those watching, I'm Julie Perez-Condola, Kent Parks and Recreation Director, and then also sharing in the presentation tonight is Eric Henricks, who is our new golf course manager, which I'll give him a more formal, but maybe just a wave, but I'll give him a more formal introduction here, and then he will be the closer for us as we go forward. So the first thing I just wanted to mention, I think I mentioned it last year, but that we knew we had staff transitions coming. We had a lot of longevity at the golf course, and we had some pretty key positions with a lot of institutional knowledge kind of leaving the course, right? And so happy to say we've made it through that hump now. We've kind of reworked our staffing model out there. And a lot of our shifts were internal. You know, we spent a lot of time growing and developing our own, and we have obviously high performers and people that have earned the opportunity, and so I'll share more about that. And so we definitely went through different things. So our 3 major retirements, obviously we lost Pete Peterson, so he finished his 30 years. He's officially retired now. And Lloyd Abraham, was our maintenance supervisor, who was here for a very long time, almost 40 years, 39 years. And then Pat Sims, our mechanic, after 35 years. So, I mean, that's many, what is that, 90-some years walking out the door, almost 100 years of experience, right? So since then, we've obviously promoted Eric into the new golf manager role, and I'll talk about him last. We did promote Josh Imordino. So Josh has been with Riverbend for about 18 years. He is a professional golf. He's got his PGA certification, and he was the assistant pro, worked with Eric, who was the head pro at the time, for many years, and is now the head pro. Marty O'Neill is, he's still here. He didn't really shift, so Marty O'Neill is our golf pro on the other side of the street over the driving range and the merchandise shop and so on. We promoted Jeff Lewis. He was our maintenance worker 3 over there. He is now the maintenance supervisor, and he has been working the golf course and all the nuances for 28 years himself. We had a pretty awesome part-time gentleman, Garrett Wong, who is also, right now he's getting his PGA certification. He was assisting also in the pro shop for many years, and he is now the new assistant golf pro. And then Melanie Manning, who has been there for 24 years, 12 also with the city first, and she is still there doing back-end work. But there are a few people on this list that also are probably over the next 5 years looking to transition out. And then we did go externally to hire our mechanics. We have a lot of specialty equipment out on the golf course, and so we hired David Milligan. He's our new mechanic, and then we are recruiting for Jeff Lewis's backfill, which is a maintenance 3. So that is the career staff team that you see up there. It's a lean and mean team. I've always talked about our challenge with the golf course at Riverbend is we have a whole street running through it. A lot of other golf courses don't have that problem, so they don't have to have, pros on each side and things like that. Unfortunately, we do because of just the makeup, and we've got to protect assets on both sides of the house. So that's just a quick reminder there. So introducing Eric a little bit more, and I hope you'll indulge me. He's got a really great bio, and that's him right there. With his sister, which is such a great story. So effective January 1st, Eric was promoted to the new golf manager. He's obviously got a deep passion for the game, and his journey with Riverbend actually started before he even joined Riverbend's team. And so picture this, June 1989, got a little young Eric there with his sister, which is awesome, watching the grand opening of Riverbend when it became when the city took it over. And so obviously he's super excited to, little did he know that in the, decade ahead, he'd start kind of getting a job at Riverbend, which is awesome. So he started in 1999. He took his first position with us, and he worked at Nevada Bob's retail space. We used to contract that out back in the day. Now it's all in-house, but back then it was contracted out. And he did that, and then in September 2000, he was actually brought on the 18-hole side and joined the team officially here in Kent. And so he, in 2012, did attain his Class A PGA PGA, which really just solidifies his status as his certified golf professional. And he actually has a pretty deep connection that goes longer than that just because of his father. His father's an amateur golfer and played there all the time. So, of course, Eric went with him, which was really great. And, going way back into high school, he went to Thomas Jefferson High School and obviously did brilliant in all their golf events and so on, and did that. And over the past 20 years, Eric really has been Pete's right hand. He ran the whole pro shop, runs all the tournaments, did all that, was very knowledgeable on when it came there. We knew while we were working through Pete's transition, definitely that it was Eric. It was just more timing and when were we going to pull the trigger. And so after conversations with Eric in different ways, obviously he's the one that we promoted. So just congratulations to Eric. Already moving and shaking and dealing with challenges, which you'll hear about. So we're throwing, nothing new to him, and he definitely, and I'm excited for it. So congrats to him. So we're in good hands there. So what I wanted to share a little bit more is we've got some new scoop. I think we've got a new software, Placer AI, which has a whole kind of methodology on tracking user trends and data. And we did I thought it might be fun to share some stats. It's a little hard. It's a little shadowy, but let's see. The first one is just kind of visitor trends, and this is by month, that top, left-hand, top left-hand. It obviously shows just the seasonal peak of when visitors come out. Obviously, summer months get higher than the shoulder months. The software also, if you take the top right, really helps you look at by week, just user trends, and helps us really get deeper a little bit more into kind of user behavior and our golfer behavior out there, and how do we go on, the below months are obviously the months we aren't earning revenues all the way, and then our summer months carry us, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. Hourly visits is the bottom left, and that's always interesting, so you can tell the golf course is hopping basically the afternoon into the early evenings. We do have, of course, the early birds that get out there and they golf, but more there. What I thought was kind of interesting, Eric probably already knows this, but it was cool to analyze it, is just the use per week. You'd think you might have a lull. Oh, no. Monday and Tuesday obviously are a little less played, but no, it's busy there every day, nonstop, dawn to dusk, right? And so just interesting information on that, just to kind of look at trends. The other thing here is to look at user demographics. It affiliates cell phone ping to a census tract. Nobody's tracking to people's houses. That's not what the software does. Tracks to a census tract and then infers the data there. So I know it's always of interest. Currently right now, obviously the primary race of user of golf is white, Caucasian, but 49% are different ethnicities and races. And so that was really interesting to know. Obviously, white, Asian, and Hispanic are our highest percent of users. Top right also is how many visitors come to Riverbend once and then just kind of leave and don't come back, or that kind of thing. They're more casual users. So you can run how many people come 2 times a year, 5 times a year, 10 times a year, and really understand. So as you can see, we do have a pretty strong base that is our reoccurring. They come here. This is their loyal course. This is where they come. And then we have the casual users that will pop in and test, friends from out of town. How do we hook those players better? Bottom left is really the median income of Riverbend Golf. Obviously, higher income, it is a discretionary type of income sport. But we've got a lot of different pricing strategies and scenarios for different times of the week, different hours that can help offset that. And then the bottom right is really visitors when they come there, how often do they play? And so it's kind of funny. You either play once and you're done, or you're going to play more than 10 times a year. And so those are your kind of loyals, and so they've got that. One of the things, too, is I think you've heard me say it before. Riverbend is a regional facility. Kent Parks has our golf course is regional. Senior Center's regional, our athletic complexes are regional, so we do serve people outside of Kent, and it's important to understand that, especially when you're talking about, in Eric's case, in an entrepreneurial area. So if you look at just the heat maps, you can see where people are coming from up and down the I-5 corridor on the left map there. On the right map gives you a little bit more detail. Clearly, the darker you get is the more attendance, and so we definitely are serving Kent. It's just we're also serving that outside region. So top 5, zip codes is Kent, Federal Way, Auburn, Renton, and some from Seattle. And so those are all the players that are coming down And of course, I know Eric has plans to just keep stealing the market from everywhere else, and so he'll talk more about that. So Riverbend financials, I wanted to give you just a really broad summary, which kind of shows where we were and where we are now. And very proud of that, very proud of the team out there. You know, before the sale of the Par 3, a lot of struggles trying to make the operations work. We were definitely very negative, owed the city a lot of money. Keep moving forward, you know, several years forward. The green line, the bar is your profit line or loss, right? And so I have the numbers there. Red is the revenue, or the expenses, and blue is the revenue we've received. And so you can see now we turned the corner. 2022 was the first full year of driving range activity. And so we definitely turned the corner, and that facility just keeps on giving. And we'll talk more about that when Eric presents. That's when we turned the trend. And we flipped it, you know, on the other side. And honestly, it just keeps getting better. And so currently right now, the city has not closed 2023 books. So there's always, you know, a couple bills might trickle in, but this is, I'm going to say 99% the number. We brought in almost 600,000 profit. And so that's awesome. One of the things that's just interesting to note there is the purple line on the top is the number of golf rounds played. And so one that I just thought was incredible is the difference between 22 rounds and 23 rounds is almost 5,500 more rounds played. Eric and I were just chatting, you know, that's obviously people are golfing more, but also we have new potential golfers coming in. So we forecast the 24, which is the last column there, and you'll see we're dropping profit. One of the reasons for that is because we don't want to bank. We kind of budget to the middle, the median, and then obviously if we come in higher or lower, so it's a very conservative number because we're not willing to go over, and so we don't want to fake, you know, assume that 70,000 is the new rounds. It could be. Let's wait till we have a few more trends and then we'll make adjustments there. And so the other thing to note in 24 forecast is it does not include any restaurant revenue yet. And so that will come as we eventually get a restaurant on there. So lots of cool things and lots of things to celebrate on this one. Just a reminder, per city policy, Riverbend is required. It's an enterprise fund. Again, just for those listening, it's not subject to tax dollar. This is 100% an enterprise, which is really a for-profit business model. But you're still required to keep 16% of fund balance of your expense of your current year, or 400,000, which, you know, whichever is higher. So just so you all know, in 2024, 16% of our expense is $537. We already have a cash reserve fund to protect us for that, just in case. That's separate from fund balance. Our fund balance now in golf is $1.2 million, which is awesome. So every time we bring in profit, it stays in the golf fund. And so huge change from where we were back in the day. We do have a really strong capital fund balance now. We have about $1 million in there. We have about 806,000 already allocated out to projects. We've already been starting to work on those. The other thing, as you recall, we had an audit finding. There was concern from the state auditor on how we do our comp rounds out there. We, of course, disagreed legally, but we understood the need for additional kind of oversight and policies. And so we spent a significant amount of time creating 7 new, very detailed policies that really analyze different types of donated rounds, marshal rounds, youth rounds, that kind of stuff that the auditor was concerned about. We have an auditing process now that we review that on a regular basis to make sure we're in compliance. And so I'm assuming, I think it was already shared, but we have now been cleared of all that from the auditor. So we've taken care of business there. The only other area that we're still continuing to look at is the city overhead applied to Riverbend. We've talked about that before. We're okay right now. I think the challenge is the city grows faster than our ability for the market to recoup that. And so when you really forecast out to 10 years, gets a little scary. So we have to continue to look at that. We'll study that more in the 25-26 budget. If we don't think it's going to impact, fair enough. We'll just keep kind of moving forward as we go. But significant jumps on the back end has been challenging. Let's see, I want to talk about restaurants, and then I'm going to pass it off to Eric. So restaurant space is the topic of the hour. That's our only challenge out there. It just continues to be a challenge. Halfline, as you all know, October this past year decided they definitely have been faced with some unforeseen challenges. And they first originally wanted to go for debt restructuring. and how do they look at their 3 LLCs and kind of reshift stuff around. And so it wasn't a full liquidation like we kind of have seen in the past. It was a little bit more tricky. So that process, once you entered that process, we were locked down. Couldn't really do anything. He had to work through that legally in the bankruptcy court. The city's legal department got us a specialty attorney that really helped us through. It was a great process to work with him on that. Later determined it's not really a debt restructure, it's a straight liquidation. He just didn't have enough assets and enough movement to really do a restructure. So that changed the game. The city pushed a little bit to get out of the stay. They call it a stay, meaning nobody can do anything. We got out of that, so we were allowed to officially do the proper city termination, which we had, and that was signed just recently in early March. And vacated the premises on March 29th. The other thing I skipped, I just want to make it clear too, on we were able to see all the financials and so on. The public house wasn't the problem with Half Lion. It was the brewery and the overall brand. And so all of it got kind of sucked into a vortex, and it was all kind of a challenge. So I don't want anybody to feel there was a challenge at the restaurant. It just unforeseen situations on how they handled some business decisions. It's a little frustrating, just so you all know. Half Lion did not move one article. They pretty much just walked away from the space, and so there's a lot of stuff, materials, beer, clothes, whatever. We're trying to work through it now with a full inventory. Legal's working on what it's considered abandoned property at this point. It's going to take a lot of work for our teams to clean up. A little frustrated there. We're going to work through that. And then I mentioned prior, but I'll mention it now on record. We did have also a couple Sundays ago a car kind of driving through Meeker, hopped our curb, smashed into the Riverbend front with the truck and the vehicle. So now we have to do the interior cleanup of the space, and now we have to remodel and repair all the front entryway in there, obviously, before I go out for full recruitment. So a little frustrating, but we're on our way, and now we're kind of back on track. All dollar amounts, just because we're released, just so you know, out of the stay, et cetera, all of our, that doesn't mean that Half Lion's released from any kind of bankruptcy obligations. They're still going through their process. Our stuff is in there. I'm not certainly hopeful, but you never know. Maybe we'll get some restitution back, but that's where we're at right now. The new restaurant, right now, obviously, I'm holding until it's officially complete and kind of more of an aesthetically visual thing I can have people walk through. So that's probably going to take us about a month to work through. I am working on new lease terms. I definitely am increasing it, having a vacant restaurant for 2 years and no interest. There was a reason why we chose what we did. That's not the ball game now. So we've definitely looked at market rates externally everywhere and all that. So we're working on that. We are still sticking with a base rent. We're not going for a gross profit. That model's kind of old school. So we're sticking with that. We are adding a new meter just to not have like formula-based utility consumption and sticking to actual improved tracking. We did make a decision business model wise. We are going to eliminate this space. We were going to give a restaurant inside on the pro shop side on the driving range. We have better purpose for that for business model reasons, but we are allowing whoever the new person is to be actually on the outside where all the stalls are and people pay. We just aren't giving them like dedicated interior space. It's like 50 square feet or something. For the meantime, one of our stresses was, oh gosh, we have all these tournaments. As you know, we're very tournament heavy in the summer. A lot of nonprofits come in there and so on. And so we worked with our legal department and the Liquor and Cannabis Board on how do we handle banquet permits and things like that so outside vendors can bring in food and alcohol and beverage to service those. We've got that all locked now. Nothing's going to impact our summer. So I just wanted to make sure you all know that. So we're solid there. We are looking at putting out the new RFP end of April, early May-ish. And we do have a lot of interest. I keep fielding calls. They're all waiting for us. And so I have to get it cleaned up and then we'll get it out and we'll see with the new lease terms what can come through. We've had a lot of really kind of interesting ideas come through. So with that said, I'm going to pass it to Eric and then we'll both pop up in case you guys have any questions. Okay? Sure, yeah, I can take any questions on my
Councilmember Troutner.
Thank you, Madam President. So Julie, when you talked about the financial piece, do we have any schools that use this as their home course?
Yeah, we have 4.
Do we get revenue from that, or how does that
No, it's part of the joint use exchange.
Okay.
So as you know, we've had a 50-year agreement with the Kent School District that we exchange facilities at no cost, right? Unless it's an ad, burden. And so because we use their schools for after-school programming, their performance center at Kent Meridian for all of our spotlights, et cetera, they bring their home course and they bring their teams out and play at no cost. And so but the time frame they play isn't as impactful on where, and so no, it's an even
All right,
exchange.
thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Eric?
Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Council President. Did the driver that ran into the building, do they have insurance?
We're still checking. Yeah, it's probably going to turn into, they did catch him, just so everybody knows. Kent police were awesome, jumped right out there, and we're able to get the driver. And we'll probably look at insurance restitution through the court process, not necessarily early on. So right now, we're running it through city insurance and then our cost, and then hopefully we will get reimbursed.
Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you. I cannot see the numbers. Did the number of black and brown golfers increase or decrease? What was the number?
Yeah, almost 50. We played 5,500 more rounds of golf from 22 to 23.
But the number not of total golfers, just of black golfers who were brought in?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to study the analytics on, yeah.
And then I wanted to know, we talked before about trying to increase the number of golfers specifically from Kent.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know if we had done that and how that fared.
I'll let Eric answer some of that. Yeah, one of the things now that we have the analytical data that we have, it goes all the way back to 2017. And so that was something that, because I just got the password and all that stuff, one of the things we can analyze now is what you're saying, the percent of growth by race from 17 to 24. We can look at who we drew, where zip codes increase or decrease, like where our revenues are coming from. So I can't answer it off the top of my head right now, but definitely can get you back more information later.
And then you guys have done a great job in outreach as far as with input as far as what our parks are going to look like. Some of that same outreach would be good, and I think, or targeted outreach rather, would be good in targeting some of the areas if you want to bring in more black and brown students.
Yeah. Yeah, we for sure do that. Just a lot of our marketing in general here in Kent. We've even had Riverbend on Metro Transit buses too, promoting as we go. And then we can target market in schools where the demographics we do need. And so we do a lot of that now. But it'll be interesting to see the growth. So definitely I'll have that for you next time. Yeah.
And Julie, I just kind of wanted to follow up on that. Is it self-reported demographics, race, or?
It's inferred based on where you live. And so they're using census tract data, and so the 22 census is what they're using for the actual demographic connection. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty neat. We can even see where they're driving from, which is really cool.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We can continue, yeah.
Eric. And feel free to add to any of the questions if you find this one.
Well, first of all, my name is Eric Hendricks. Obviously, Julie just said that I was recently promoted. First and foremost, I'm thankful to be here, number one, but then secondly and more importantly, I'm also humbled. So with that said, I'd also like to thank Pete Peterson and all of our staff down there, Marty O'Neill, Josh Mordino, Melanie Manning, Jeff Lewis, for their help here in the last couple months as we're transitioning into this new era down at the golf course. With that said, in terms of a 2023 review, this is our second year that we have been a complete operation since 2017. We had over 70,000 rounds of golf at the 18-hole golf course. We were able to implement a new POS system in June, and we were able to house more than 8,000 volunteer hours. Over the last 22 years, we've also been more often than not in the top 3 in the whole state, sometimes the region, in terms of rounds of golf played. Programs that we are currently using down at the golf course, we have partnered with the Kent School District and hosted our second annual cross-country meet, which was in October of 2023. We are still hosting our annual amateur events, one being the 26th annual 2 Men at the Bend, and the other one being the 20th annual Riverbend Amateur, which includes some of the best golfers in the region. Both our men's and ladies club, in terms of participation, have gradually increased here over the last few years. based upon golf course experience, based upon just overall improvements to the golf course, so on and so forth. Riverbend is also the home course, as Julie said, to 4 local high schools: Kent Meridian, Thomas Jefferson, Mount Rainier, and Seattle Christian. We also are an outlet for the First Tee program as well. Some of the capital and maintenance that we're looking into or have done here in the past in 2023, one was the clubhouse was painted and the roof was cleaned in the summer of 2023. The parking lot at the 18-hole golf course was resealed and painted in the summer of 2023. We were able to implement new garbage cans and benches in April of 2023. We also successfully aerated and sanded all the tee boxes and greens both in April and September in 2023, and that's the first time we've been able to do that in about 7 years based upon weather. We also were able to replace our garage doors, which was essential from an overall security standpoint. Those had been there since the building was built in, I believe, 1989, so those were certainly due for a change. As we talk about the driving range, and as we are doing the best that we can to continue to welcome new golfers every day. The driving range has over 50 stalls and a large range field, new lighting, and a remodeled pro shop. We also just recently installed some additional targets out there on the actual range field to enhance user experience. The west range nets have been replaced. The south range nets have been repaired to enhance the overall safety and aesthetics of the driving range as well. We also had Verkada security system installed in April of 2023, which has certainly enhanced the overall security of the facility itself. The drainage and overall aesthetics of the range field are continually improving day after day, year after year. We've also added additional vendors this past year, one being Branded Bills, the other being Johnny O, and we actually were able to reactivate an account with Nike. We sold over 180,000 buckets of balls, and in 2023, we exceeded our expectations by 35%. Some of the operating challenges. Unfortunately, there's a continued frequency of customer and employee cars being broken into. Here in the last month, off the top of my head, I believe there's been 1 car stolen and 3 break-ins in our parking lots. 3 gas-powered cars were stolen. Actually, it was New Year's Eve of 2023. There was cars stolen as well. So 5 here in the last 2 years. We unfortunately still have issues with transient and homelessness, which has been impactful from the Green River, so on and so forth. Our well pump, which is on the west side of the golf course, unfortunately, that shed or enclosure was also stolen. And just general vandalism. March 25th, as Julie stated, we unfortunately had an incident in which a gentleman ran into the building. Just this past week, we had an incident in which at 4:43 in the morning, a gentleman decided to drive his car onto the golf course and may have gotten lost, but he came to our gate on Russell Road, and rather than backing out, he decided to run through it. That was Friday morning. Crime issues are still occurring along Russell Road: vehicle abandonment, drug activity, illegal dumping, etc. Some of the operational challenges are the obvious aging irrigation system. We're on borrowed time there. We're hopefully going to start that project later on in 2024 and work into 2025. Still an operational challenge is the POS system. As we bring on new staff, as training new staff can be difficult, especially with as busy as we are. Training new staff can be time consuming and quite frankly frustrating from time to time. However, with that said, our staff has been outstanding just in their overall ability to learn and learn with us. As Julie said too, us implementing some of the new policies from the state auditor's office and their expectations, and then obviously just the continued restaurant closures and constant turnover with that restaurant. As we proceed into summer 2024, the closure of the Meeker Street Bridge could also cause a little bit of an operational challenge. However, we don't foresee that being a huge operational challenge, but it is something that we're certainly fully aware of, and we will implement some things to help with that. And then lastly, Auburn Golf Course is installing a new driving range a seasonal-only driving range that we will obviously continue to monitor.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
So they're building, they have a large vacant field that they're going to be building a driving range on.
Oh.
As far as I know.
Okay.
2024 work plan highlights. Our golf course is operating at 362 days a year, from dawn to dusk, which targets over 70,000 rounds of golf. As we look into 2024, we are looking to improve the landscaping and curb appeal at not only the 18-hole golf course, but also the driving range. As we progress into the summer of 2024, we're also going to be implementing Verkada security systems at the 18-hole golf course, which will be exceptional based upon the experiences that we've had at the driving range. Overall security, peace of mind for employees will be significantly enhanced based upon the fact that that system is great. We are still looking to replace some of our sprinkler heads. We're going to reevaluate resurfacing and leveling some of our tee boxes. We're in the middle right now. Later on this week, we're going to put some new tee markers out on the golf course, and I'm waiting for a proof for some new signage at the golf course in terms of tee signs. We will also be adding some additional bunker sand probably later on the summer, and then we actually have been receiving quotes to repair some of the aging cart paths. We're looking to start a driving range field improvement on April 9th, and we're also looking to create more of a fleet heavy equipment replacement strategy as our equipment gets closer into their lifespan. We are in the fall of 2024 looking to install some additional heaters at the driving range to enhance user experience on cold days. That will be something that our driving range patrons will enjoy because it can get cold and they still won't hit balls. And then hopefully late summer, early fall, we'll be able to introduce a new restaurant. With that said, do you guys have any questions?
I want to say thank you, Eric, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this. And Julie, congratulations to you on such progress. In last couple of years, I think we made some big progress, and looking forward to what we bring in 2024. And looking at the number of years employees are there, longevity of them, I mean, that really says about the work environment. So I am thankful for all the work that they put in, and congratulations. And it looks like it's lighting up in here. So Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. A couple things. Kudos to promoting within. I think that's really awesome because people can see a career path. You know, I just really totally support that 100%. Great job on that there. That Verkada system you were talking about, is it going to be out in the parking lot? You say by the 18-hole, but where is the theft is happening? The theft is happening out by the driving range?
Thefts?
Yes.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
So
you're just gonna...
Correct. So the most often, where it happens most often is the west side of the parking lot. However, one of our employees' vehicles was stolen out of the east parking lot.
Oh, okay.
Right by our mechanic shop, right in the dead of the day.
Okay.
So, you know, the coverage is going to be expansive, and what we'll be fortunate to have is just 24-hour surveillance in which we will be notified if and when there's an incident in which we need to be notified to then dispatch the police.
Okay. Is RC still golfing? Is he around still? Yeah.
So that league starts on Tuesday, and to my knowledge, RC I think has been battling some health issues.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not fully sure if he's going to be participating.
I'm glad he's enjoying the range, right? So, and then the other thing, looking at your resume, and a couple questions about your resume I wanted to validate. One, it said that you're a master for golf swing.
Yeah, come on.
I need some help with that.
Okay? Come on down.
And I will evaluate on helping me. But you also said you're responsible for the next generation of talent. So I like to be part of that as well, too, okay?
Yeah, whomever that is, if it's you or if it's whomever it is.
Well, I want to be me. I've been down there, so I will come and pay you a visit, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So congratulations, though.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Eric, I might join Councilmember Boyce there.
Yeah, whatever you guys need.
Councilmember Fincher, followed by Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you. I am not a golfer, unlike Councilmember Boyce.
You can drive my cart if you want to drive me around.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So what kind of improvements, because they don't walk out to get the balls, there's like a little hover or super vacuum that collects the balls, right? So on the driving range, what sort of improvements will you be making to the field?
Just the old, so it's a grass range field. So especially during the off season, which for us is October through March, when that ground gets saturated, it then can become increasingly more difficult for us to pick the golf balls up with a range picker. So it's an actual machine that we have the ability to drive around that then helps us pick up the range balls. If we gradually improve the conditions of the field itself, and if it's a little firmer, if it drains a little bit more efficiently, that then will eliminate us having to hand pick golf balls with literal ball plungers, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations, Eric. It's a big deal. So congratulations. And I just want to say kudos to Julie and the entire golf team. I was talking to my son today. He was asking, like, what are you doing tonight at your meetings? And I mentioned the golf course, and he said, oh, the money pit. And I said, hey, not anymore. I said, not since Julie has been here, and they implemented the strategic plan, and they have really turned around the golf course and made a huge improvement. So kudos, great job. I know despite all the challenges, the golf course is in the red. When I talk to fellow elected leaders outside of Kent, they're always impressed that we have a municipal golf course that is making money. It's a big deal. Yep. So great job.
Yes. Any other questions or comments?
I'm just getting his phone number in here, that's all. So.
Councilmember Troutner.
All right, thank you, Madam President. Lots of good things have been said already, so I won't repeat that. But I know my family utilizes the golf course, so very excited to be able to have this in our own backyard. And I think, like Councilmember Boyce had said, I'm new into the golf scene, but I think that you said you're left-handed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, that's me too, so that's very exciting. I have one up on you, Councilmember Boyce. And maybe I can talk the mayor into coming out too, because she is as well. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. I think that is all the comments. Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you, Julie.
Good job.
And good job. Yes. All right. Next up, Project Be Free Pilot Program. Sergeant Meyer. Welcome.
Thank you. This is a new one for me. Madam President and council members, thanks for having me. My name is Landon Meyer, and I am a patrol sergeant with the Kent Police Department. Previously to being a patrol sergeant, I was in the detective unit for 7 years, 6 years as a detective, 1 year as a detective sergeant, and I helped create the SAU unit, the Special Assault Unit, which handles a variety of specialized crimes, most typically sexual assault, crimes against children, and felony domestic violence, which is what I want to talk about you guys today. So I'm here to talk to you about an ambitious and progressive new approach the Kent Police Department is taking with our response to domestic violence incidents that occur within our city. The department has partnered with a community group some of you may have heard of already, and that group is called Project Be Free. Project Be Free is a community group whose mission is to alleviate or eliminate many of the underlying issues surrounding domestic violence in families. Project Be Free is headquartered in Renton, Washington, but they serve all of King County, and they do that through serving the residents of King County through community outreach and direct connections. Project Be Free's innovative approach is based on the concept of not just treating the needs and concerns of victims of domestic violence, but recognizing and connecting with entire families who are affected by domestic violence in the home. Excuse me. This approach makes it possible to identify and address the specific needs and concerns of everyone that domestic violence touches, from offering counseling service for children living in a home with domestic violence, helping victims who are financially or otherwise dependent on their DV abusers, as well as offering services to DV defendants who wish to address any underlying issues such as drug abuse, anger management, things of that nature. And many of those issues serve as a barrier for defendants to end the behavior that they find themselves in. Along with their individual approach and outreach, Project Be Free has begun partnering with local law enforcement agencies with a co-responder program to get Project Be Free involved in instances of domestic violence as they happen. So Project Be Free first started this program with Renton PD, and then they went to Newcastle PD, I believe. And then Kent is the third agency to come on, and now they're in Auburn too. In July of 2023, Chief Padilla was approached by Project Be Free to see about instituting this project with Kent, and in November we began a pilot program to institute this co-responder model with Project Be Free. The program itself for our department is actually very simple. As officers are dispatched or respond to a domestic violence incident, once making the scene safe, whether it's taking somebody into custody or detaining suspects, they kind of do a quick assessment of the family needs, right? And in that moment, they reach out directly to Project Be Free, who has co-responders who will respond to the scene if it's appropriate, or set up an appointment with victim, family, whoever's needed. You know, of course, at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's hard to have those conversations when you got to put the kids to bed. But we're big on believing that early intervention at the moment that it's happening to address instances of crisis when people are in their crises, it helps us address exactly what it is that they need and how we can help. So, the co-responders then either respond to the scene in person or set up an appointment with clients over the phone. In these initial stages, Project Be Free's focus is on identifying the specific needs and challenges that DV victims, defendants, and children might require. This can be addressing housing issues, food insecurity, counseling, and assisting navigating court procedures such as obtaining protection orders when necessary. Once the initial contact is made, please complete their investigation and case reports, while Project Be Free works with the family to address their specific needs that are not necessarily a law enforcement component. Officers are also provided with a Project Be Free information card, which you all have an example of. This card is written in 2 languages. It's in English and Spanish. It's something that we can hand off so that even if that connection isn't made, later on, if individuals wish to reach out on their own, they can do that still. Currently, Project Be Free is offering and working this co-responder program with the 4 cities I mentioned, Renton, Newcastle, Kent, and Auburn, but they do have plans on, to continue to grow and expand the program as their hiring and infrastructure will allow. One of the things that really impressed us when they first came to us is their intentionality about growing. They didn't want to grow faster than they were able to manage. And so while independently, any individual in King County, and even they do have clients in Pierce and Snow County too, who can call them for assistance or connections or figure out what it is that they need. And that they will still do on their own. However, expanding the law enforcement co-responder model, they really are intentional about not doing that too fast, too soon, so that they're not overwhelming their own systems in place. The initial results of the pilot program with Kent are being met very positively by the department. Officers are reporting their ability to help families in need solve problems for the entire family has made them feel empowered to do good that goes beyond just arresting somebody. Also, after an officer contacts Project Be Free, one of the things that is most appreciative by our officers is that Project Be Free will later contact that initial officer again and let them know, hey, thanks for calling us. Here's what we did. Here's how we connected with that family, and here's the services that we're providing. It gives the officer a feeling that they are empowered and they are making a difference. Again, that goes beyond just arresting somebody, booking them in the jail, treating the entire family in these situations. This follow-through by Project Be Free with results to the officers has led to they're getting more engaged, and it also provides options for the officers to truly be problem solvers with resources that typically and historically weren't necessarily available to them unless they had a personal connection themselves. The initial statistics regarding our department's usage of Project Be Free shows a steady and consistent usage, just under 2 calls to Project Be Free a day, which is the most of any city that they're currently working with. So we are definitely a high user of the program and getting them involved as much as possible, as appropriately as possible. The department and Project Be Free, we partner together, so we're sharing statistics. That goes back and forth. We're trying to catch specific demographics, as well as just our overall usage. We want to know which parts of the communities we are advocating for and which pockets still need help and where we can grow that response. The real value to the program lies in the partnership between the department and Project Be Free. Both organizations are working to address the same problems regarding domestic violence, but we have found that we are far more successful and reach far more people when we work this problem together rather than separately. This approach has led to more victim engagement, making prosecution of cases easier, as well as working through the underlying issues with domestic violence with resources not typically available to the police department by itself. The co-responders employed by Project Be Free are all trained in a variety of crisis responses and are specifically trained in things such as crisis therapy and DV advocacy, intergenerational trauma, mediation, and de-escalation. Project Be Free's co-responders are also bilingual, with the whole of Project Be Free speaking 17 different languages, and they are always on the lookout for what languages that they are not speaking, that they know there is a need for specific in our community. So when they're hiring, they're addressing that specific need whenever possible. The pilot program with Project Be Free was a proof of concept pilot, meaning that there was no financial cost to the department. Since implementing the program and recognizing its value, the department has assisted in providing letters of support for several grants that Project Be Free has applied for. And to supplement this effort, we anticipate a budgetary request for the City Council will be forthcoming in the near future. I do want to thank Katya and Joel, who are the founders of Project Be Free. And Katya is the executive director. Joel is the community outreach manager. Joel is formerly of Tukwila PD. And if I could share a little bit for you, Joel. I remember when I first met Joel, he was talking to us about starting this organization and kind of the impact it's had on him. And he was talking about his police service with Tukwila and how he always felt at the end of going to these domestic violence calls, sure, I arrest guy, and sure, he goes to jail, but they're seldom held for a significant period of time, which provides its own barriers, especially for families that are dependent upon their DV abusers for financial, housing, whatever their issue is, childcare. And so he and Katya ended up developing this program with that in mind. Like, how do police officers get involved in a way that is not the typical police response and really get invested in the communities that they're serving? And so far with this approach, our officers for sure have been supremely highly thankful for this new service and being able to be problem solvers in the communities that they're serving. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll pawn it off on Katya and Joel.
Thank you, Sergeant Meyer. Councilmember Troutner and Councilmember Boyce, followed by Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, thank you for being here with this information. Thank you so much to both of you for what you're doing with this work. We often hear about the people committing the crime. We don't get to hear so much about the support for the victims. So it's really great to see that this is available. And we've also seen through our work with the RFA and now through this information that the co-responder model is working.
Yes.
And if we're using it in Kent, then that means that those services are needed here. So it's great to see that. I think you mentioned this, that this isn't a referral-based program. If somebody is in crisis or somebody needs these services, they can call the number, or do they have to have some kind of a referral to be able to?
No, so they're kind of operating in two different spheres. They're open to the public.
Okay.
So anybody that can, that's why they still have clients in Pierce County and Snow County too, because those people will hear about the project and they'll reach out individually. So they can take any calls from the public. They do have dedicated police lines that are just for police, so that when we're calling, we're getting directly getting through. We're not doing the phone tree thing. And then they have the co-responder model, which is adjacent to their overall mission.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. Hey, great job. Appreciated that. And I was going to say some of the same thing that Councilman Troutner said. The only thing I was going to add is, Sergeant Meyer, please let Joel know that we do have some opens in the KPD. So if he decide want to come over, just make sure you let him know. He's welcome.
Me up all the way over his head. Yeah. He said yes, and I said, you're hired.
There you go. All right. Really, kudos. Good job. Appreciate everything you do. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Michaud.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for being here and approaching the police department with this project. I'm glad to see that officers are utilizing it. I think having someone with law enforcement experience kind of set up the program and get it running really helps. And so you know what officers are looking for, and so you can better work together. I'm really excited to see that this is moving forward, hopefully, and great job.
Thank you. I would add one thing I didn't mention, and this was really important to us as a police department as we were, going down this road and trying to decide if this was something we were going to fully embrace and get behind and start with this pilot program. One of the key selling points for the department is the response time by the co-responders. So most of the co-responders, I would say, either live in Renton, many in Kent, and the response time averages between 15 and 20 minutes, which is probably the biggest driver of usage by officers, because they don't want to have to stay on a scene for hours and hours and hours waiting for somebody to show up so that they can leave. Because they can make a lot of these connections over the phone sometimes, but also when they come out to the scene, if the scene is safe and the officers are done doing what they're doing, Project Be Free is happy to say, okay, we got it, you guys can go. And then they can take the time that they need with the family without necessarily tying up an officer, so that they can go on to their next call and address that, which has really been, I think, the primary driver for how often and how successful we've been using it coming out.
Councilmember Fincher, followed by Councilmember Boyd.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful program. Thank you for offering it here in Kent. I love everything that I heard. I love that, I think you said 17 different languages.
Yes.
I love that we can, because as you know, here we have a lot of different languages, and so that means you're covering a lot of people. I love that you're looking to see what other languages are needed out there. I love that you're working not with only the adults, but also with the children who you come across and the youth. And so, I would like to even, I don't know if you're prepared tonight, but to have an example of how a call might go, or what they do once they are talking to them. They're searching for needs, but especially if you come across a 2-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever, the needs that you're finding that they may have.
Sure. Do you want to talk about just a quick typical?
Thank you.
I would say, Councilmember Fincher, I agree. One of the things, so the stat sheet that we have, every month Kathia will email me, hey, here's last month's stats, and the very first stat I look to is how many youth did we put into counseling or services, and that's the number one stat I go to, and so I'm always impressed when we're, because I think that's the clearest indication of that we're addressing necessarily just making arrests. Also with housing families, sometimes entire families. I think the first family we housed, I was a little taken aback because we were talking and she's like, hey, we got our first family housed. And I said, great, you have temporary housing for them? She's like, yeah, it's temporary. It's for their guaranteed housing for the next 2 years. And I was like, okay, like great. Like that is solution-based stuff that we're aiming for.
Exactly.
How do we provide stability to the family so that they can address what they need to address? So you want to talk about just a quick response call? Or?
Sure. We'll see how quick it is. I know Councilman Fisher, you had mentioned about demographics. So I did mention, I was like, oh, I got this for them. So I can say in the city of Kent, our BIPOC communities are at a call rate of 62%. So I will say in the city of Kent, it's the highest. So obviously thankful to officers to getting us out on the scene. More than half of that is Hispanic speakers. So oftentimes we are doing a lot of translation on scene. In many instances, we're also helping to kind of figure out a story when we show up on the scene, right? In many instances, there is a fear, especially for our immigrant populations as well as our refugees, to speak out to law enforcement based on trust, based on, gender, all of those experiences. So we've been able to come alongside and be a bridge, not only for law enforcement, but for our community members to get outcomes that are needed to make these changes in a lot of these generational cycles. I will say, let's see, cases. So one case that we have responded to recently is where a youth, he was 14, was being very aggressive and abusive to his other family members, as well as mom in the home. Mom was a single mother in the household. She had mentioned that there was a DV history, unfortunately, and it was why it had led to divorce, which is oftentimes, I would say about 87% is the story that we get, unfortunately, is that there is a DV history, that in many instances people, think that, okay, separation is going to happen, and then the DV happens, and it's over, and then it doesn't happen any further in our household. And the truth is, in many instances, children then exhibit those signs of being abusive to those family members. So our program really not only supports families and adults, but also those youth that are exhibiting signs of being abusive, because we know that DV is not perfect. It's not in a box. It's not based on gender. It's not based on socioeconomic status. It's oftentimes a familial history experience. So I've been to the nicest houses and cars, right? I mean, it's all over. It's different. So the particular case that we showed up to, mom had stated that there was this DV history. Unfortunately, she had disclosed to me that she was, of course, experiencing her own mental health due to the violence that was going on, and not quite sure where to turn due to, the abuser now being her child. In many instances, there's unresolved trauma there, and now I'm seeing my child as being abusive is really hard to grapple with. It's hard to get out of this place of being frozen. So in this particular instance, we were able to engage with this youth and get him connected to our youth outreach specialist that is now seeing him in school. And we were also able to provide other resources to that household. One of the resources was like a link case manager, which is an agency outside us that we partner with to be able to get more stability to this youth. We are also, once we get a hold of a youth, we're working with case managers, we're working with school counselors, we're getting everyone kind of at the table to be able to have some of these needed conversations, because we know that a family system is very complex, so it can't just be our piece, right? There's going to be many instances that families need more than just a crisis response. They need continuity of care. They need more stability, that when there is more of a village, that families can go into that place of stability. So that family and that household is still seeing our youth outreach specialist currently, as well as other members of that household are seeing counseling individuals within our staff. And then there are other organizations that are kind of at the table. But that's really our goal, is that Project Be Free isn't just an organization that it's like, kind of a typical DV organization where it's like more services just for survivors. It's really, we are trying to repair and trying to assist families that are going through violence. So it's very wraparound process, which is needed if we are going to make change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Katya. Councilmember Boyd, you had a question?
If I could just add a little bit on that, like really the point to drive home with what Katya is saying is that the innovative part is treating the entire family instead of just one or the other, right? Instead of just dealing with the defendant or dealing with the victim, it's really treating the whole family, because the overarching goal is to keep those families together. That's best for the kids, and a stable home environment is really what we're aiming for, and trying to get those early interventions in, especially as the incident has happened, is leading us to the best outcomes that we can possibly try to come up with.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Sergeant Meyer and Katya. This is a very interesting program, and it's probably long overdue. I know it's more than likely saving lives. I have a question, though. Like, when an officer is called out, is there like a triage? I mean, how do we know which service to offer them? Do we give them a card and give them a number, or do we ask, questions about what's going on in the family?
So typically what the officers will do, the officers will come out, they'll do their safety investigation, all the things that they need to do, right? Figure out exactly what that particular incident was. And then as we continue the program, they're starting to pick up on cues and just seeing, noticing the state of the house, or is there this? And some officers will ask a couple more questions. But really, it's designed for the officers to go out and make the situation stable, and then trying to pick up a couple of the cues that they can. They will call out to Project Be Free, talk to whoever the on-call co-responder is, let them know, like, hey, we came out here for this. These are kind of some of the things that I'm noticing. And then our approach, generally speaking, I would say, is we really try to limit how much we are putting into that. We really want that to be between the family and Project Be Free. We want to remove any obstacles because, as we talked about, not necessarily having trust in law enforcement in every community and having historical or shared experiences of not having good experiences with the police, either here or abroad or wherever. We really want to remove that obstacle, and so we're trying to and they are specially trained where they know the questions to ask, the appropriate way to ask them, so it's not embarrassing or off-putting to the people who are being asked.
Okay, that was one of my questions too. Where they trained for it? I was looking at some of your total Kent PD numbers from November 23 to March 54. I mean March 24. I'm sorry, and I noticed the numbers are similar. Are a lot of these calls, are they repetitive? And if they are repetitive, how many times do you come out?
So one of the things that this program specifically targets and tries to alleviate is that repetitive thing. So I don't know if we have any specific stats, but we in terms of month over month, but we are tracking overall. Like when we do our end of the year report, we'll look for instances of recidivism so that we can say, in this, in 2022, we went to this many DV calls and this many defendants had multiple, and we'd really like to get that down to one, where there's like all the defendants only have this one case, and that's really what we're aiming for. Okay. So that's,
yeah. Okay, yeah, and I agree about when you say when you're dealing with the family, you want to deal with them holistically, and I appreciate that because that's really what needs to be done, because DV not only affects not just the husband or the wife, but it affects the whole family and anybody who's living in that house. So I like that idea. And thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your work.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? No? And I want to say thank you so much, Sergeant, and thank you, Katya and Joel, for this amazing program. I've heard about it before, but I wasn't really familiar, so maybe I'll just go on your website and learn more about you. But I think this is a great program needed for our community, and I really appreciate our police officers actually utilizing this, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we're looking forward to hopefully having some success stories here and learning more. And if you, want us to share with our community, I'm sure our social media would be happy to share that with the communities too. So.
And I will add, as we leave tonight, obviously, like this always happens to me. I leave and I go, oh, I forgot to ask this or I forgot to do that. Keep those questions in your mind. On April 16th, we do have scheduled, and it'll be right here. We're going to have a lunch and learn. So we're going to have a lunch for the City Council, the Mayor's Office, and members of the community and the police department. And so that would be a good opportunity. And it's really just a chance for you to kind of off the cuff, if you have questions or want to just get to know the program better, then that'll be a great opportunity to get to know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that was the end. So we are adjourned. We'll see you at 7 o'clock for council meeting. Thank you so much.